Shinobi Clans is a game that I picked up at Gen Con 2014. I didn't know anything about this game, I was just attracted by the art. I guess I'm shallow that way. There were these huge posters with this astounding art with such vibrant, powerful colors, and I just was attracted. I stopped by, I learned about the game, and then I wanted to play the game. Shinobi Clans, this is a game that kind of reminds me, as for the general idea, of cheaty mages. It is not a secret identity game like you have, for example, in Bang. It is more like a secret agenda game. Players play some sort of unclear entity. It's not clear who you are in the game. But what you're trying to do is to fulfill your own prophecies. There is a group of characters that will be targeted by assassins at the beginning of each turn, and you simply need to bet on whether some of these characters are going to be assassinated or survive. Once you commit to your own bet, to your own prophecy, then you will try to make sure that the people that you thought would be assassinated do get assassinated, and the people that you thought would survive will survive. So players will play cards representing assassins and guardians and other special effects, but you do not really play the role of the assassins or the guardians. Each player will simply invest resources in their enterprise, and you may try to assassinate somebody to make somebody survive, and maybe just to mess up somebody else's, some other player's plan, even though you don't really care about the destiny of the target character per se. So the theme in that sense feels a little loose, a little vague. There isn't a connection between you and the characters. It does feel like you're a strange entity. Maybe you're some sort of strange god who likes to bet with other gods about life and death, and then you're trying to alter the destiny of some people and of this strange situation, maybe not so strange, but of this very specific situation in which there are people that are being targeted for assassination, and that are the people that are being hired to protect those people. So, Shinobi Clan, betting and gambling about the survival, the possible survival of some characters that are being targeted for assassination. Let me show you how that works. There are 5 possible targets for assassination in this game. They're represented by these cards. The game is played in 3 rounds. At the beginning of each round, 3 of these cards are selected. They're placed in a column on the table. Also, you will draw 3 of these cards, and you will pair them randomly with the characters. You place the cards underneath, and that will modify the reward that each target is worth. These are the characters that the players are trying to protect or to assassinate. The values that you see on the right represent the reward that the characters that chose to assassinate the character will earn if the character is indeed assassinated. The numbers on the left side represent the reward that the players that have tried to protect the character will earn if the character is indeed successfully protected, if the character survives. This side of the board is called the assassin side. This side is called the guardian's side. So this is how you set up each round. Then players need to receive cards from this deck, and there are 2 ways in which cards can be drafted. Players can agree on which one to use. You can give each player a certain number of cards at the beginning of each round, and those go on the table, and then you give them another group of cards that go directly in their hand, and from these cards each player will choose one, add it to his end of the table, pass the cards to the next player, receive cards from the next player, choose another one, and so on and so forth, going around the table until each player reaches a total of 10 cards in hand. Pretty much 7 Wonders style. Another way of drafting cards is to use open drafting. Then cards are placed on the table, players choose face up, players choose one, then you put more cards on the table, each player chooses another one, and so on and so forth, again until each player has 10 cards in hand. In this second way, you will know what everybody else has in their hand, Well, with many players that would be quite a memory feat, but it's something you can attempt to do. If you're doing the Seven Wonders style of drafting, then you get much less of a sense of what the players have in hand, especially if you have a large number of players. And then players need to commit to their contracts. They need to decide what they think is going to happen to each of the targets. Each player has a set of tokens, such as this one, with a red token and a light blue token for each character. For example, we have the daimyo, and I will choose the light blue token. If I think that the daimyo is going to survive, is going to be protected by the guardians, I'm going to choose the red token if I think the daimyo is going to be assassinated. You choose the corresponding token and you place it face down in front of you so that you commit to a possible outcome. Then suppose I think that the Ronin is going to be assassinated, then I choose that target there. Each round you choose 2 tokens, so you select the 2 of the targets that you think you can pretty much, or you have good chances of figuring out what's going to happen to that character. You can choose any combination of survive, survive, assassinate, assassinated, assassinated, survived, as long as you don't choose the assassinated and survived token for the same character, because then it would have like a Schrodinger's character, both alive and dead. It gets confusing. Once players are committed to certain outcomes for the round proper finally starts, and it is played by having players play a card at a time. Cards can be played in one of 2 ways. Some cards are events, and then all you do when you're playing an event is you play face up, you resolve the text of the event, and then game goes to the next player. Generally speaking, each round of the main turn, you play a card, and then the game goes to the next player, who resolves the card, and so on and so forth, until all cards have been played. You can pass, but if you pass, then you cannot do anything until the end of that round. Cards that are not events are placed face down on the table. Most cards are placed face down on one of the targets, the target where you want the card to be used. Guardian cards will protect the character that you assign the guardian to. Suppose I want to protect the daimyo, then I put that one there. Assassins will try to kill the daimyo, or whatever character you assign it to. Still, you play the card face down. Specialists, they have special effects that will resolve when you move on to the battle phase, which I'll explain later. And then you have meddlers, which will change the reward that a target may issue. Also, you have weapons. Weapons are played face down, but they're not played on a target. They're played on the left or right side of the character that you want to associate that card with. Each space where a card could go, to the left or to the right of a character, is called a battle slot, and they are numbered. Well, ideally you do not have a board to number them, but you can number them starting from the inside. So this is battle slot 1, and this one is the corresponding battle slot 1, battle slot 2, and battle slot 2, 3 and 3, and so on and so forth. Once all players have played all of their cards, or they've all passed, or any combination of that, you resolve the battle phase. And suppose actually this is the situation. To resolve the battle phase, you simply start drawing cards or revealing cards in order from the decks of cards that will have been formed on top of the target. You resolve them one at a time. If the card is a guardian, the card goes to the left side of the card, of the target, and if there is a weapon there, the guardian grabs the weapon and the guardian can use that weapon. If you reveal an assassin, the assassin goes to the right side, and again, if there is a weapon there, the guardian grabs the weapon, and so on and so forth. You continue by placing guardians to the left, assassins to the right. If there are meddlers, they modify the reward, so you place them here where the reward information is. Other things, oh, these are cool. Then you have the specialists. The specialists have effects that resolve during the battle phase as cards are revealed from that deck. For example, here, remove the card under Bomb Maker in the target's stack. Boom, that card is removed because the Bomb Maker destroyed it. This was under the Bomb Maker. And you continue revealing cards like this. Guardians or Assassins do not need weapons, and actually if there are weapons, when all the cards have been resolved, that have not been assigned, they are useless. You cannot have a weapon that attacks by itself. Once all cards have been resolved, you will usually have lines of Assassins and Guardians on the two sides of the target. At that point, you compare strength after you have resolved the game effects. Weapons and Assassins or Guardians may have game effects, usually that affect the opposing battle slot. You have to imagine that this Guardian is going to fight against that Guardian, the Guardian against this Assassin, this Guardian just being there, hypothetically fighting against other assassins. So for example, here we have a card here that says remove any weapon in opposing battle slot. So this character will lose his weapon because of the effect of that card. And there are other effects. For example, you may have an assassin that copies the power of a Guardian in the opposing battle slot, characters that reduce the strength of the character and or the weapon in the opposing battle slot. Once all of these effects have been resolved, you look at the icons. You look at the icons at the bottom of the cards. Icons in the bottom left corner are icons for the protectors, defensive icons, and icons on the right bottom side of the Assassin's cards are icons for the attackers, for the assassins. You total all the defensive icons and all of the attackers icons. If the attackers have more icons than the defenders do, then the attackers win and the character is assassinated. If there are less attacking icons or the two values are tied, then the character survived, the character has been protected. Which is why usually you have a better payoff and a higher reward for assassinating characters, because it is harder, because you need to win a tie, the defenders win ties, and also because characters, target characters, have an intrinsic defensive value. So it is tough to assassinate them, but in some cases it really gives you good rewards. Look, for example, this card. Protecting the Shogun would only give you 5 points, but successfully assassinating him would give you 10 points. However, he has a pretty strong intrinsic defense value, so it may take some work to take down that guy. Once you have determined which of the target characters live and which die, people reveal their contracts, so people that guess correctly the destiny of the characters will receive the corresponding payoff. If the character has been assassinated and I indeed wanted to assassinate the character, then I receive 4 points, 4 money, $4 would say some people, which I find pretty funny when we're talking about feudal Japan. And there are tokens here to represent the money. So people receive the rewards based on what they had committed to. And then the round is over and you repeat the procedure for a second and third round. At the end of 3 rounds, the player that has collected most income, the highest amount of income, is the winner.
The game is pretty fun. The flow of the game is a little discontinuous because you have phases of the game, 3 main phases, which are very different from one another. They feel very different. The drafting phase, I like either way. I like either way of drafting. It just feels like a big break from the rest of the experience, especially if you're doing the perfect drafting in which you know what everybody has. Then you may have a little bit of analysis paralysis, or at least a little bit of memorization paralysis, or trying to figure out ways of remembering what each player has in their hand, and so what they may be trying to do with that. Then you have the card play phase, which is probably the most fun part, because that's when you're indeed trying to figure out for real what other players are trying to do. And you have the specialists that will allow you to do so. For example, You have spies that when you play them will allow you to reveal the card before, those played right before on the stack in which you play the spy. So you're getting to know what the player that played that card plays there, which means you will know if the player plays an assassin or guardian. That tells you a lot about what the player is trying to do with that specific target character. Scouts will force the next card that is played on a character to be placed face up, and that may reveal what the opponents are trying to do, or will simply discourage the opponents from doing something there. So there's a psychological factor. What I like about this phase when players are playing the cards is the psychology that goes on behind it, which is what you would expect in a hidden agenda type of game. Now, the comparison with Cheating Mages seems obvious to me. In that game too, you were trying to do something similar. You would bet on some monsters that would fight in an arena, and then you will try to influence the situation around it. This one does it better. It also takes more to learn. There are more effects, and it requires a larger investment of time and brain power. It is an advanced version of that game, but to me this one is also, yes, it's more of an investment, but it is more fun, it is more rewarding, it is more engaging. Especially when you're playing and creating all of those interesting effects, and then there's nothing going on that, oh, I know what you're trying to do next. As you have some players that are being loud and commenting, and some players that are kind of like shying away and playing the real ninja style, which is when people forget that you're playing and nobody notices you. Deflecting attention from you is an extremely powerful tool. Many fun things here. It is a game that may not appeal to everybody just because I believe of the somewhat discontinuous nature of the experience. The 3 segments, drafting cards, playing cards, and then calculating, doing all the math for the battles, and sometimes you have long lines of cards that need to be resolved one by one. It may take a while, it may take, wait a second, we need to recalculate that. It may take a bit. Somehow I see how it may feel a little loose in that sense. It may feel not tight, and that may not appeal to everybody. I personally enjoyed it. I personally think that it is a good game in the secret agenda category. It is not a type of game that I play every day. Well, I don't know what game I play every day. Let's say every week. It's not one of the games that I play the most often. And very often I like games that have more of a thematic feel, or that are more abstract. This is a game somewhat in between. The art is very thematic, the weapons are very thematic, yet the story is pretty vague. Theme is not the strongest element of this design. Fun is, because fun is there. There is fun to be had with this design. Moments of surprise, interesting psychology and subtle psychological exchanges going on. Interesting psychological implications in gameplay, which is the part that I enjoyed the most. So, Shinobi Clans, good game. Nothing too spectacular, I would say, mechanically. An improvement on other games of this type, such as Cheating Mages. Good with the right group of players. Again, if you have players that do not do well with this card type of bluffing, deduction, creating combinations of effects which can be pretty mean to other people, this may not be the right game. Even though you're attacking targets or defending targets and not attacking each other, I found that somehow the level of confrontation was pretty strong, even though theoretically it looks like everybody's playing his or her own solitaire. In reality, you are continuously trying to read the other opponents and to hide your own intentions. So Shinobi Clans is a good game. A very specific feel. With the exception of City Mages, I wouldn't know what to compare with, and even the comparison with City Mages is a vague one. It's pretty different. It's pretty different from other games, but hey, it's a good game. I think it's a game that I can put in my rotation, and with the right group, this is a game that can find definitely some time on the table.